Okay,
How are
good.
you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thursdays.
Busy?
Yes, blessed and busy.
Yes, it's so good to have you here.
Thank
Um,
you.
so this series was created to celebrate publicists ahead of National Publicist Day, which is tomorrow.
Yes.
So this is our final episode, but I'm so excited to have you here. I've worked with you in the past and you're incredible.
Oh.
You're one of the top publicists in the industry. So I'm so happy to be speaking with Vanessa Anderson, the
Oh,
owner of AMPR Group.
thank you. So
Um,
sweet.
so I wanted to jump right into it. So I know that you graduated from an Ivy League, Barnard College.
hmm
Um, I wanted to know what was that experience like, and what did you study while you were there?
So I loved it. I loved being in New York, coming from LA. I was looking at, or I only wanted to go on the East Coast and I only wanted to go to another big city. So obviously New York was the best fit. But I
Yeah.
was an American Studies major. I actually thought that I wanted to be a history teacher. And when I first graduated, was a first grade teacher. So I was on a
Oh,
path
wow.
to, be in education. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah.
Okay. So what was that life like, I guess, post college, and how was that transition from being in American Studies to, I guess, moving into the world of publicity, which is completely different?
Yeah, there's well, I won't say that there's no correlation necessarily, but I do think that like my
Hmm.
skills of like writing and research really translated well to this profession. But I graduated in 2007, which was right when the recession was starting. So even though I had this very expensive degree, I couldn't get a job. No, there was a
Mm,
hiring freeze for teachers. Your degree really didn't matter. There just wasn't a job market. Um,
yeah.
so I was like, okay, well, I gotta like these loans are starting to kick in. They don't care that there's no job market right now.
Right.
So yeah, I reached out to some family friends that I knew, and they were like, well, this private school is looking for a first grade teacher. It's not really what you wanted to do, but it is a job. So
Yeah.
I became a first grade teacher and loved the kids.
Uh-oh.
Brought a lot of joy. But I had gone from being at Barnard and Columbia where I was having these like philosophical conversations and we were planning on how we
Yeah.
were going to change the world. And then I was surrounded by like 30 little people who couldn't read. So I was like, I don't know if this is my calling right now.
Right.
And the great thing about, teaching is that that's a profession that will always be needed. So
Hmm.
I said, why don't I sort of tap into the other things that I'm good at? And if those things don't work out, I can always come back to teaching. And I reached out to a family friend who was an entertainment lawyer. I told her these are the things that I think I'm good at. These are the skills that I do have. And I was like, do you think you can help me find a job? And I was like, I feel like I'd be like a good personal assistant or executive assistant to like a talent or a producer or something like that. And she was like, oh no. She was like, you should be a publicist. And I was like, what's a publicist? What do they do? Where do they live? And she, encouraged me to read some books and do some research and talk
Yeah.
to a couple people. And after doing that, I was like, oh, so this is actually my life's work. This is what I'm supposed to be
Yeah.
doing. This is how I'm supposed to contribute to the world. So that was
Yeah.
in 2007. And then for about 2 years, I worked in different parts of PR. So I worked in fashion PR. I worked in like the eco-friendly green space for a little bit. And then after working in fashion PR, I said, I really want to work in music. So I was thinking about transitioning or trying to get a job maybe like in at a label or maybe at like a
Hmm.
small indie label or something. And then kept having this feeling that was like, I don't know if that's right for you, sis. Like, that might not
Yeah.
be the move. I really didn't want to be regulated to working with people who I didn't like, or projects I didn't believe in, or people who were trash in real life, but maybe were super
Right.
talented. Integrity is really important to me. Um, so I said, F it. You got a little money saved. My grandmother, before she passed, she left me a little money. And I said, try it on your own. Like, give yourself 2 years, invest in yourself. And I did that June 2010,
Mm.
and haven't looked back since. Here we are.
Love it. I love it. I love it. Speaking of mentors, so outside of the mentor that I guess pushed you into publicity from the start, who were some of the people I guess that you looked up to during that time back in like '07, '08, like other publicists maybe that kind of guided you? And then also, what were some of your networking tactics back then? Because obviously it was a different world than what we're working in, the digital world that we're working in
Yeah,
today.
there was no IG, and Twitter was a
Yeah.
very small world back then. Yeah, I mean, well, if I'm being like, full transparency, I didn't have any mentors in publicity back then. There wasn't there still are like a handful of us, and I'm,
Yep.
on that hand. Um, and, it was hard to get in contact with people. There wasn't the same, how can I say this? People weren't as giving of their time. They weren't or
Mm,
they weren't necessarily interested in investing in young Black talent. Even
right.
if they were maybe of color, that wasn't something that was, top of mind for people. So, I didn't have a mentor that actually worked in the field. So I really was figuring it out by myself in a lot of ways. I did have a network of friends who were a little bit older, who definitely were giving me the game and were helping me
Hmm.
navigate conversations and spaces. I had some family friends that owned businesses, so I could kind of go to them about business needs because I didn't study business
Hmm.
in school. So I
Right.
didn't know how to manage people. I didn't know how to, file paperwork. There's like a whole separate like workload that's specific to just
Yeah.
running the business. And I needed
Yeah.
someone to help me through that. So I didn't have, to kind of answer your question, I didn't have a publicist or another publicist who was a mentor. I have other amazing friends who were executives in the business, like Caroline Yim, Felicia Fawn. She's a publicist, but she at the time, I can't remember if she had her agency or she was just in-house at the label, but
Yeah.
she's been an invaluable resource in my life. Um, Nicole Planton, a lot of my friends, uh, but they were
Right.
on the music side. But yeah, in terms of like
Got it.
networking, my girlfriend Debbie Brown, she was working in radio at the time, and her and I just kind of made a pact where if she could go to an event and had a plus one, I would be her plus one. I would drive us and cover the gas. And she would just, all I needed was someone to get me in the room. If I can get in the room, I
Right.
can do the rest. I just needed someone to help me get in the room, and she did that for me. And I had a thing back then where I told myself, okay, you're going to this event. You need to get X amount of cards, because business cards, people still carry business cards back then.
Right.
Um, I was like, I got to get X amount of cards. And then I would sit in the car after the event, and I would send out emails, or I would get up top of the morning the next day, and I would send out all my follow-up emails to people just to say, hey, it was great meeting with you. I'd love to
Hmm.
go to coffee or something. And if I sent out 10 emails, maybe only 3 people responded, but maybe I only ended up seeing one person in real life after that. But you do
Yeah.
that enough times, you start to build your network. So,
Right. Yeah, and so, and I guess in the midst of building out your network and also getting into these rooms, being a face in these rooms, um, did you start seeing or dealing with any humbling moments or things that I guess that you still look back on today that kind of shaped you and made you into who you are today?
Um, I can't like identify one humbling moment. I feel like every day as a publicist is a humbling moment because, and I mean, I have, dreams of grandeur for my clients and for myself. And sometimes you see that what you think of someone isn't necessarily what the public thinks of someone,
Yep.
or a writer thinks. So, I'm hyped, I'm amped, I'm sending my pitch out. I'm like, oh yeah, I got this. This is fire. And then it's like crickets,
No
and
response.
that still happens
Yeah.
today. That still happens today.
Hmm.
Like I can't think of something specific back then, but I do think that sort of disappointment of believing in your client and other people not seeing their creative genius yet, and you
Right.
kind of having to know that, okay, the world hasn't caught up to how fire my client is, so I just got to keep turning the wheel, and I have to keep trying to to make every no a yes. You
Hmm.
only need one yes. You only need one person to say this person is cool or worthy or hot or up next. You only need one person. So as long as you keep it, I see someone's comment says pitching is so humbling at any level. Yes,
Yep.
honey, because woo, my spirit. Okay. I'll be like, why? I know that. And he'd be like, oh, I wrote the hell out of this pitch. Anyways.
Right.
um, but yeah, it's just, so there's still humbling moments. Even,
Yeah.
I'm sure
Even
today
today.
I'll have a moment where it's like, have at me, sis.
So, for those that don't know, you created AMPR Group in 2010, but what gave you that push and the confidence to say, okay, I think I can do this. I can jump out there and do this. Because at that point, you had only been in the industry, what is that, 3 4 years?
2 3 years,
2 years.
2 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what gave you that confidence so quickly to be able to say, okay, I can start my own firm?
Well, if I don't know anything about myself, I know I'm smart and I know like the hustle is real in me. So I'm always going to make a way. That's just point blank period, right? Like I'm always going to make a way no matter what it is. But also like, back then I was 25. My
Hmm.
mom is an immigrant from El Salvador. My dad grew up in the racist South. Like, who am I to not try? Like if they could
Mm.
figure that out and if they could overcome those obstacles. My mother came as like a Spanish speaker and ended up becoming an RN nurse at one of the top hospitals in LA. Like, if I can't,
Hmm.
I come from greatness. Like, why would I deny myself an opportunity to build on their greatness and to like not keep my
Absolutely.
family's name growing and growing? So yeah, I've never really, had that energy of like, oh, I can't do something. This is too big for me. I do what I want. And if it doesn't work,
Yeah.
that's okay. Like, I still have that expensive ass degree. I can go get a nice little corporate job if I needed to,
Right.
And at 25, I didn't have kids. I didn't have, a partner. I had no real responsibilities. If I was going to grind, that was the time.
That was the
If
time.
I was going to keep eating top ramen and, living with people and all that other shit, like that was the time. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, you did it. Um, so you work with a number of clients, wide range, Marseille Martin, Issa Rae, the Destination Crenshaw Project, Amazon Studios, and just so many more. How do you manage such a diverse clientele list? Like, what does your day to day look like? How are you with time management, and um, how do you just commit to all of these projects?
So, first of all, I just want to shout out some of my clients that are in that are in
In the
the
comments?
yes. You know what? That's really who I do it for. I do it for the clients. Yes, Caroline. Caroline, a very
Yes.
close friend of mine. We also rep Elevate and Mustard in 10 Summers. So
Yep.
really, I think one, I don't really have a handle on my time management. That's actually the real truth. That's something that that I'm constantly having to kind of reassess. And
Hmm.
I'm okay with that for now. Like, I don't feel like I'm missing out on other parts of my life. So that's the first part. But honestly, like I have a team. Like I'm only, and I've always
Yeah.
said, I say this for clients, and I say this for myself. Like I'm only as good as my team, and I have an excellent team of, Black women on my staff who support me, who check in with me, and who, when they see that I'm doing too much, they're like, so sis, you doing too much.
Chill out a
um,
bit.
right. They're like, calm down. And as I've gotten older and I've done this longer, I'm really cognizant of what my bandwidth is. So like, I know when, okay, we can't clients on because we need to get in a rhythm with the ones that we have. Or like, okay, this is a time to really like, put our foot on the gas and let's like sign people. But it's the team. It's the team.
Yeah.
All of my clients, I think at least, they understand that, I'm a growing business, and they are also invested in my success, which I think helps kind of navigate those opportunities or those conversations or those incidents where, I can't be, this is a really major moment for one client, but I can't be there because I'm maybe servicing another client. So, I
Hmm.
think the biggest thing in our line of work is communication, and that means communicating with your staff, it means communicating with your clients, and it also means having real conversations with yourself. So,
Yep. Yeah. And then I guess in the midst of COVID-19 and like our new normal and the way that we're all working, how has AMPR Group coped with that? Like, has it been a big change, or are you still working in the same type of workspace?
no, we're definitely not working in the same workspace. I actually think
Yeah.
that, you know, this is going to sound a little crazy to say it, but I've been having a little bit of, it's not survivor's remorse, but just feeling like, oh man, like I know so many other businesses have been closed. I know a lot of people have lost
Yeah.
their jobs. A lot of people have fallen sick or have passed from COVID. And yet, in the middle of all of that, my business has really, really, really been thriving.
Yeah.
I think we've signed more people in the past 6 months than we did probably all of last year. Um, and, I think uh, how do I say this? I think one result of the social unrest that we had that kind of hit ahead over the summer is that a lot of talent and brands started to look in-house and look at their teams and say, you
Hmm.
know what, like we don't have any Black people, on our staff, or we don't contract enough work out
Right.
to Black companies or to Black agencies. And because there's so few Black agencies, that work in TV and film specifically, but really across the board in PR, branding, music, etc. There weren't a bunch of people for folks to look to if they wanted to get in, if they wanted to make a very conscious hire about getting someone of color within their business. And I think for a lot of people, we were top of mind,
Hmm.
which I'm really grateful for. So we've actually been doing all right.
Amazing.
Yeah, we were able to expand our team this summer. So I feel really good, but it's not lost on me that things
Right.
could change real fast.
Yep.
So we've been doing a lot
Yep.
of aggressive saving just in case. This is great, but what's next?
Yep.
So
Always
yeah, so
having a
I
backup
feel
plan.
exactly. So I'm definitely feeling blessed. Um, so I hate that COVID happened, but I am appreciative that we've been able to kind of flourish during this time.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me ask you, for someone, I guess, looking to pick up a career in publicity or looking to work at AMPR Group, what would you say are the top skills that they will need to be successful in this field?
Let's see. I would say You need to be a great communicator. And by communicating, that means obviously like, talking to people,
Yep.
using the tongue, but it also means writing. And then in a very weird way, I don't know if it's a part of communication, I think it is, but really just being able to pick up on trends or pick up when someone's in a bad mood, being able to read people's energy. We deal with a lot of personalities, a lot of ego, a lot of creative people. Uh, you meet people at different places in their life, so
Mhm.
you have to be willing to kind of deal with all the different types of energy, and one, not take it personally, but also understand that like how you deal with one client is not how you can deal with another client. Like, certain
Yep.
clients, we have to be very, by the book and buttoned up. Miko.
Yep.
We have to be very. Miko Johannes is one of my managers. He manages LMA and Muster, and he's also president of 10 Summers. And like, that's a relationship I love because we're also friends. Like, it's a very friendly
Mhm.
relationship. Um, but I can't always have that kind of rapport with every client and every manager.
Right.
So,
Yep.
when I'm with him, I can kind of operate in one way, but when I go talk to, Issa's team, like her managers and her agents, like it's a different energy. And both of them are
Mhm.
right. None
Yeah.
one isn't wrong or better than the other, but you do have to realize like, oh, okay, with these people, I can be like this. With these people, I have to be a little bit different. So communication is one. You have to really love this work. For me, like I really love it. Like I feel
Yeah.
like I don't know what else I know I could do something else. Like I think I'm probably great at a lot of things, but I love this work, and this work doesn't stop. It's early mornings, it's late nights. It used to be constantly on flights, flying around everywhere, going around the world, really. Um, it takes a lot out of you. You have to be willing to sacrifice a lot of personal things,
Mhm.
relationships, friends, holidays with family, because you may have to go be with a client. So understanding that there's a lot of sacrifice that can be required by the job and by the career. Um, and then I think the last part that I think maybe you need to have in order to do well in this field is be open. Like
Mhm.
publicity 10 years ago versus what it is now is drastically different. Like, I
Yeah.
think, now, excuse me, back then versus now, there's probably 75% of print has gone under, so
Right.
when when you're sort of like tried and true things that oh, I'm pitching for print. Okay, but if print goes away, what else do you have? So you have to be able to shift, and you have to be able to say, okay, I need to be open to what new possibilities could be for my clients. Also, it may mean that you have to shift your business, right? So like,
Mhm.
if you don't know about digital PR, you don't know any, editors in the digital space, you're doing yourself and your clients a disservice, and you have to always be open to learning. Like I don't think that I know everything. Like the younger women on my team, they still teach me stuff. Like there's platforms that are popping up all the time that I'm like, ooh,
Mhm.
I don't know how to use. Like I don't even know what's happening here.
Yeah.
But if you don't know, or if you don't have the capacity or the time to learn, then you should have people on your team who can do that. But just be open and flexible, and understand that like as technology changes, so will our field.
Mhm.
Anybody who thinks that they can sort of stay the same with the technological advances that are happening, is fooling themselves.
Yeah.
Tech influences every part of definitely entertainment, but just every part of our lives. So you have to be open and understanding that you have to kind of roll with the times and change. So
Yeah. Yeah. And then I guess from the talent perspective, do you have any advice for artists or creatives, I guess, to stay inspired during this time? What are some projects, I guess, that you and your talent are working on that I guess you can speak about?
I was like, girl.
That you can speak about. But yeah,
I mean, for talent, I mean, it really also depends on what your gift is that you're sharing with the world. But I think part of it is being open, learning how to use the tools that you do have at your disposal to work in your favor. Also, like reading and research. Like, man, people don't read enough. I just, I'm like, if you
yeah,
read and if you were an expert in this, like you would be so much further along. I know that for myself, a couple years ago, when I decided to really like do the research and really do a more of a deep dive into what PR and comms and branding was, I saw an immediate shift in my business. And that's what I'm saying. Like, reading is so important. So, like, if you want to be a director, like, you should be using this time during quarantine to watch every film. You should know who the top 20 directors are.
mm,
Um, you should just you should come out of this an expert. There's just no
yeah,
reason. Like, what are you doing, sis? Like, bruh, like, open up a book, do it audio style, like, ride a bike
right,
and listen to it. Like, figure out however you need it, you want to consume it for you that
yep,
works. But like, do your research, read, please read. Or even like, this is a great opportunity to reach out to people because they have time. So, if
yeah,
there's a producer or a writer or an actor or whatever that you've been wanting to connect with, like, this is, if shoot your shot. Like, this is the opportunity where you may actually get
yep,
a response from someone. So I think a lot of it is, reading and research. I can't
yeah.
like stress that enough. Like, please. Yeah, someone said there's a lot of free panels happening.
Panels
Yes, like,
every day.
yes, instead of just scrolling on Instagram, like,
Yeah,
put your thumb down and like click
yep,
something and just like sit there and absorb and get the knowledge.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Vanessa. You're incredible. It's been so great
Oh,
speaking with you. I hope to work with you more as time goes on.
we're
Thank you for
here.
everyone for tuning in to this mini series of ours. It's been
One
great.
last thing, if I can, if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course, of course.
I just want to shout out my fire ass city, Los Angeles, California, because
Yes,
not only am I from there, but the Lakers won, the Dodgers won.
Dodgers.
We gonna claim Kamala. She not from LA, but close enough. Like, and I encourage everyone to go vote. But shout out to LA because we on the map, boo, right now.
Yes, yes. And yes, like you said, please go vote, everyone. Thank you guys for tuning
Yes.
in, and it was great speaking with you, Vanessa.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.